Thanks so much for joining us for KVUE News at 6. I'm Quita Culpepper, and we continue to closely monitor the breaking news out of New York, where a jury found former President Donald Trump guilty in his hush money trial. Trump was found guilty of all 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the hush money payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. This marks the first time in American history a president has been convicted of any crime. Trump's sentencing will be held July 11th. And just a few minutes after the guilty verdict was announced in court, former President Trump came outside to briefly speak to the media. Here's a portion of what he said about the verdict.
We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution.
The former president is expected to appeal the verdict. Now, here in Texas, Republicans are standing by the former president. Governor Greg Abbott calling it a sham show trial. Minutes after the verdict was read, Governor Abbott tweeted, quote, "The kangaroo court will never stand on appeal. Americans deserve better than a sitting U.S. president weaponizing our justice system against a political opponent, all to win an election," end quote. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick also posted his reaction to the verdict on social media a short time ago, reading in part, quote, "Today's guilty verdict against President Trump is an absolute travesty of our judicial system," end quote. A lot of people have questions about what comes next for the former president after this conviction. So let's verify some of the posts that we've been seeing online. First, some social media users say this means Trump can't run for president. Well, that claim is false. Presidential eligibility is outlined in the U.S. Constitution. It does not excuse anyone who's been charged with a crime or found guilty in a criminal case. Second, some people have said this means Trump can't vote in the presidential election. Well, that claim, as of now, is false. He's registered to vote in Florida, and Florida law states that if a resident is convicted in another state, they'll be ineligible to vote there if the conviction makes them ineligible to vote in that other state. And New York law says that a felon is ineligible to vote if they're in prison. But if Mr. Trump avoids prison time, he'll remain eligible to cast a ballot in Florida. And that gets us to the third claim of people saying Trump will go to jail. Well, that claim on its own is false. In New York, falsifying business records is a Class E felony. That's the lowest level felony in that state. And each count carries a maximum sentence of 4 years. But there's no minimum sentence, and the judge could opt for probation instead. So it's going to be up to the judge to decide that sentence, which will happen on July 11th.